Hello, I'm Paddy from creativemedia.org.uk, and I am reviewing today something I've been putting off for absolutely ages. This Casio XW-P1. I've had this thing for ages. I still can't remember that name. It's just XW-P1. Who comes up with this name? CZ101, I can remember, a classic Casio synth from the 80s, but this one, I can't remember the name at all. I've been putting this off. I'll just move the camera a bit so you can see the beast itself. And this is kind of a beast and kind of not a beast. I've been putting it off for ages because it just does so many things. It's the weirdest synth I've ever had. It's like everything all in one box, but big buts, I think. So unusual for what you call a pro synth, which I probably wouldn't call this a pro synth. It's got piano, strings, brass, synth, etc. Most pro synths don't have that kind of stuff. They just have, VCO1 and various other buttons like that. So, got pianos. We've got a nice alpha dial here to control. Whoops, I'm in the wrong mode already. Piano, there we go. Got a nice alpha dial here to continuous control thing to move through the sounds nice and quickly. There you got all the pipe organs and we've got an enormous reverb on for some reason. I put this on by mistake and now it's got stuck. Okay, let's turn that down. It does have useful sounds, I'll give it that. And it's got tons of them, so just loads of pianos. You can program your own to some extent, but it's not really like a proper synth. It's got all your kind of general MIDI type sounds, really. But my big but with the synth is it sounds okay, but it just doesn't sound as good as some of the more pro equipment out there. So even though it does loads of things, if the sounds were just a little bit better, this would be an awesome synth. As it is, it's just got all kinds of little limitations. So, for example, editing, I've got kind of quite limited editing. For a start, I've got to go into tone, I think, to do the editing. There we go. So it's got attack and release, got filter cutoff, control, things like that. But vibrato, touch sensitivity, but no kind of real oscillator kind of stuff going on in there, chorus end. So really it's a sort of sample plus synthesis to some extent, a bit like the Roland U20. You can tweak things a little bit, but not really do proper synthesis with it. Not in this polyphonic mode, at least. And talking about polyphony, 64 notes at once, which is quite impressive. This synth came out, I think, sometime in the 2000s, the noughties, as we call them, I think. But it wasn't really something that kind of hit the big time. It's a bit under the radar, I think. So, yeah, lots of brass sounds. 80s brass. Got a bit loud there. Very versatile. It's got, all sorts of sound. And basses. It's got lots of effects you can add to things. I'm sure you can find a manual online. If I tried to actually tell you all the proper technical details about this, I'd never have got this review done, because there's just so much to know. That's quite a nice sound. And you can assign these 4 controllers to various things. I've got that reverb and release time. And I've got a cutoff here. This is one of my qualms about this, is you can control the cutoff in the polyphonic mode, but if you hold down a note, it doesn't work. And I'm sure there's some kind of software limitation that means that's not possible, or even something to do with the chips. But a synth that you can't alter controllers whilst the note's being held is so limited. In one of the other modes you can do that, but in the polyphonic mode you can't. So you've got to get your finger off the key in order to change things like that. You got some drum sets. Which are quite useful. Oh yes. So good fun to play around with. I should say at this point the keyboard itself is alright. It feels very cheap, but it survived me playing it and going live as well. And also replaying live, this keyboard is so light. I can hold it up with one hand quite easily. Really light keyboard, so great for carrying around. Quite wide this way though, so it won't fit in things very well. And this section, very great idea. You can put your tablet on here, and the iPad. There is an app for the iPad which enables you to control stuff on this. I've done another video which shows using the audio input and an iPad to control and to alter sounds coming into it, which is quite fun. Ooh, volume's down. You got all those general MIDI style sounds, which sometimes you need. Oh, back to sounds again now. Okay, so that's kind of like the home keyboard really section of it. Phrase sequencer is very useful. Let's get some kind of organy sound. Okay, so we've got a phrase recorder, and I'll get it in the right mode. It's a new mode, so I'm going to override. I've got a beep going on. It's quantized that. I could change the quantizing if I wanted, and I could switch to loop on. I need to press step 1, step plus loops on. There we go. So that's very useful for making a sequence quickly, particularly if you've got something difficult to play that you want to record into a sequencer. You can play it on this and then play it into the sequencer. And the great thing with this is the key play mode. So you can control which key that sequence plays in, and you can overdub that sequence as well. So I'll do that, I think. So you can do a lot with that. There is, let's get a synth sound on here. Oh, not a drum loop. Oh, we're in the wrong place again. This, I mean, the amount of buttons on this is worthy of some kind of 80s ghetto blaster or music center or something. It's just insane. Okay, let's go for that. Let's go for an arpeggiator on that. Get the hold on. And there are lots of arpeggios available. You can hold that down and choose. Ooh. So you got all those arpeggios you can mess around with as well, which is great fun to fiddle around with. So that's, I think, most of the home keyboard stuff, like I said, and arpeggiators and phrase recorders, which stuff you wouldn't usually find on a home keyboard. Transpose is lovely and easy on this. If you're playing live, you can easily jump up and down an octave. You've got your 5 octaves here anyway, but even some master keyboards make it really difficult for you to change key or octave. And this one you just hold down transpose. Which I find very useful because I usually play in C because I'm not a brilliant piano player. So I just transpose and play in the same key. Makes it nice and easy. So that's that lot. Now we also have a step sequencer, which in addition to the phrase sequencer. So here's I need to press the right key, step sequencer. So we've got 8 different variations of a particular pattern, and we can so this track here I'm controlling is the bass drum, and I can turn them on and off here. And I can choose which pattern. I keep getting battery low messages on this keyboard. Yeah, so let's get some more drums. And I've got, I think, kind of 6 instrument ones and a couple of channels on this which will control like a continuous controller, so I could use one to control the filter cutoff on one of the channels. I think you can maybe see why I've put off doing this review, because it's just so complicated. These sliders here are controlling which instrument plays on each of these points along the 16-step sequence. And then if I'm playing live, I can change sequence. And that syncs in so it doesn't change middle sequence. And it does sound quite good, but it sounds like a home keyboard to me. It doesn't sound like a pro keyboard. It doesn't sound like the kind of things I'm used to. And I don't play super new fancy gear on the whole. I got some quite old sort of 90s, noughties equipment. But it just sounds nicer than this. And even though it'll do all this stuff, it doesn't feel to me like worth the effort because the sound isn't really up to it. I'm sure if you put a lot of effort in and really programmed your sounds a bit, it could sound better. But yeah, I'm just a bit can't be bothered. There's a drawbar organ, which uses these same sliders I was using just then to control how the sound sounds. But there's a Roland keyboard, I think, which has a similar kind of setup to this. And somehow the sound is smoother. things don't suddenly cut out and cut in. Oh, I'm getting that battery low message again. I think I've got the wrong power supply for this. Yeah, it's just... that kind of cuts in a bit unpleasantly there. In addition, you've got like a rotary effect, and you can assign that to a controller and control how much it comes in. I think these are doing something else. And you've got two percussive. It's really nice for bass sounds. Yeah, down here. It's got quite a nice sound. Okay, there is also the hex layer mode, which enables you to, if I can remember how to do this, to put lots of synths on top of each other. So this has got a whole lot of sounds all at once. So it's... And in this mode, the sliders control each of the sounds that are playing simultaneously. And I'm having some battery trouble with this one. Or not battery trouble, power supply trouble. Interestingly, this thing does run on batteries. I think it takes 6D batteries. Check that up in the manual. I'll put something in the comments as well once I've found it out. So yeah, even if you've got eight layers of sounds, you've still got 8-note polyphony because you've got 64 note in total, and you can choose your effects and such like as well. So you can get some quite nice big sounds on this, but I've got a JV1010, Roland's JV1010 module, and it makes these kind of big sounds just with one sound to my ear, and I don't have to mess around with choosing all the right modes and things. So again, I'm not that excited by that. The last mode I think I can show you is the solo synth. That's a mono synth tone. And this one, you can do normal stuff like control the cutoff and the resonance as you hold the note down, which is kind of what you'd expect really. I'm distorting a bit. And here, in theory, you've got some more kind of synth effects. So you've got an oscillator block, you've got filters, there's just, I think there's something like 250 different waveform types you can use. So in theory, it's a super powerful synth. I think it's got possibly six oscillators or 4 oscillators and an audio input and something else. I can't remember. But somehow, all these sounds sound kind of very similar. There's nothing... I guess there's some basses. But you might expect some kind of effects or something, which there aren't on this at all. No kind of cross modulation and things, which makes me think, okay, that's a bit interesting. And I think that's using the effects largely. But it makes me think that it just can't really do complicated kind of synthy effects. It just has these layers that get layered on top of each other, but it can't really do much clever stuff. Maybe I haven't really given it the benefit of the doubt, but it just seems so much effort to actually get into those sounds, even with the tablet interface, and it's just not that rewarding when you do. So yeah, I think that's my kind of conclusion. It feels like a lot of work, and you kind of get some quickish results which are satisfying a bit, but not really great sounding compared with other stuff you can get. It's a great keyboard to play with, to have everything in one box and be able to do a lot of things. And with some effort, yeah, you could use it to make quite impressive recordings. But I think in modern times, it's not really there. Anyone else is perfectly at liberty to disagree with me, because I am being a bit harsh, and it's maybe just my laziness. But having said that, I've been meaning to get rid of this several times, and every time I've thought, I'll just have a last play on it. And I've thought, I'll keep it because it'll do quite a lot of things that I can't really do with anything else. For example, like if I used the this to do if I used that to make that sequence and put the key follower on. So you can make a crazy drum rhythm. By using the key follow, you can just get a rhythm going and just move it all over the keyboard. And you could do some sort of mad drum and bass type things with that. So yeah, if you can find one cheap, do get it. Or if you just want to have some fun noodling around, then get it, because it's fun for that. But it can be frustrating as well. So thanks for watching that rather long video. I hope that's helped you make your mind up about whether to get one of these or whether to swipe whichever direction it is.